The couple just wanted to enjoy their honeymoon on a small sailboat, but they discover an isolated island and decide to explore. While the boyfriend ties the boat, the girlfriend wanders inland and finds a fenced military-style compound that appears abandoned. She peers inside, confused and uneasy, before vicious unseen creatures suddenly attack her. Her screams echo back toward the shore, startling her boyfriend. The film then shifts to a seaplane landing at the same island. Brothers Justin and Sean arrive for a relaxing getaway after inheriting the island from their recently deceased uncle, who built a cabin there. They are joined by their friends Hannah, Daryl, Kaylin, and Tevi, believing the island is uninhabited aside from the cabin and woods. Soon after settling in, a stray puppy appears. At first harmless, the dog abruptly growls at Tevi for no reason, then bolts outside. Disturbed, Kaylin and Tevi follow, only to be attacked by a large, vicious dog that bites Kaylin before they scramble back to the cabin. The next morning, Justin, Sean, and Tevi walk into the forest and encounter the terrified boyfriend from the opening scene, now covered in blood. Barely able to speak, he warns them about the dogs, moments before a pack tears him apart. The boys sprint back to the cabin and order the girls inside. As they try to secure the house, a dog attacks Hannah at the door. In a panic, Daryl fires an arrow intending to kill the dog, but instead the arrow impales straight through Hannah's calf. The group barricades themselves, but more trained dogs begin circling the property. Realizing escape may be their only hope, they head for the seaplane, but discover dozens of dogs surrounding it. With no signal or communication equipment, they attempt to wait it out, until the plane mysteriously detaches from its ropes and drifts toward the ocean. The dogs have chewed the moorings to force the group back into the open. In desperation, Daryl swims toward the drifting plane, only to be attacked mid-water by the dogs climbing onto it, though he barely reaches the dock. Returning to the cabin, they notice Kaylin beginning to change, growling, ravenously eating, and displaying animal-like aggression after her bite. With the cabin no longer safe, they head to a storage shed where their uncle's old Ford is parked, planning to drive to the military training compound in hopes of finding communications gear. The car, however, won't start, so stuck and terrified, they try to pass time partying through the night. Suddenly the power shuts off. Tevi goes to the basement fuse box, where he is ambushed and killed by dogs that have infiltrated the house. The pack charges through the rest of the cabin, and Justin is bitten as the survivors flee into the attic. Sean, Justin, Hannah, Daryl, and Kaylin. There, they discover old papers and classified documents revealing the island was once used by the U.S. military to train and genetically enhance attack dogs, breeding animals with advanced intelligence, tactical instincts, and pack coordination. Horrified, they realize the dogs are not just feral, they are engineered weapons. By morning, the dogs have temporarily retreated. Justin, Sean, and Daryl manage to pop the clutch of the Ford and head back to rescue the girls, but Kaylin refuses to leave. When the dogs return, she tries to fight one off but falls out the window, impaling both herself and the attacking dog on a stake below. Shaken, the remaining four, Justin, Sean, Hannah, and Daryl, drive to the abandoned facility. Inside they find reinforced cages, surgical equipment, and proof confirming the dogs were genetically modified to be stronger, faster, and unervingly intelligent. Sean discovers a communication station that could send a distress signal, but its antenna has been deliberately disconnected. As Justin's bite symptoms worsen, he begins to feel an eerie psychic connection to the dogs, sensing their positions and intentions, side effects of the experimental virus spreading through the pack. Sean climbs outside to reconnect the antenna, but a surge shocks him, knocking him to the ground where the dogs immediately attack. Justin and Daryl rush to Sean, fighting off the pack with baseball bats while chaos erupts inside. The unstable wiring triggers a fire, creating a dangerous backdraft. Realizing the blaze could wipe out the dogs, Hannah lures them deeper into the compound. The fire detonates, producing a massive explosion that kills the remaining dogs inside the facility. Exhausted and barely alive, the survivors regroup. Sean tells Justin and Daryl he spotted a boat on the island, the same sailboat from the couple at the beginning. But before they can reach it, another pack surrounds them. At the last moment, Hannah barrels through in the Ford, and they pile in. The dogs flood the road, making it impossible to stop, so Sean orders Hannah to drive straight off the pier. The car plunges into the water, the group escapes, swims to the sailboat, and prepares to depart. Believing they might finally be safe, they discuss heading to medical facilities before the infection from the bites transforms Justin and Sean as it did Kaylin. But just as they enter the sleeping quarters of the boat, a hidden dog, still alive, still part of the failed military experiment, leaps out, proving the nightmare isn't over. Thanks for watching. See you on the next video.